All right, we are now at part 6 of going through the cast assessment for the Amazing Race 35. Note the quotations. I am Logan Saunders, the TARstorian, and we are now up to Steve and Annalie. In case you're only watching this video and none of the others, I'm going in order from who I think will shit the bed the most and finish in 13th place, up through to who I think will cross the finish line first and win the whole damn thing. So I think Steve and Annalie will finish this season in 8th place. Let's learn a bit more about Steve and Annalie. They're from the town of Petty, Texas. And there's a funny story about Petty, Texas upon further research. A lot of people within the community were arguing about whether or not the town is named after the late singer Tom Petty. So there's a big fight about it online, on community forums, and in person at meetings. And Steve and Annalie were involved in all of these fights over the town name. And they kept fighting about it, went on for weeks and months. And then eventually they decided, hey, all this arguing over whether or not this town is named after Tom Petty just seems really childish and immature. So the name has stuck ever since. They didn't decide to change it or declare who it was named after. All right, so Steve and Annalie, a father-daughter team. We've had a lot of father-daughter teams get close to winning the whole damn thing on The Amazing Race. Earliest example, of course, would be Ron and Christina. Ron being one of my favorite racers of all time. Gary and Mallory, of course, were really close to winning the race twice in seasons 17 and 18. And we also had Hussein and Natasha from Amazing Race Asia 4 until Hussein quit while in first place, only a task or two away from winning the whole thing. The Richards were very pleased about that. And of course, also Joel and Ashley from Amazing Race Canada 4. And then a more recent example would be Arun and Natalia, but were they really that close when they almost got eliminated 10 times? Yes, I know I've referenced that at least in all 6 parts of this cast assessment. I got to stop doing that for the remaining 7. Otherwise, I just end up being stale and repetitive with my material. So Steve Argyle. Wait, can't be Argyle. That's the name of the driver from Die Hard. Oh, it's Cargyle. So Steve Cargyle apparently is a painter. He's a painter from Petty, Texas. And Annalie is a speech pathologist, private flight attendant, travel influencer, massage therapist, a stenographer, and lawyer. So just like ILIANA from Elizabeth and ILIANA, the team of sisters, Annalie just has as many jobs as they do. And Annalie apparently is a recent travel vlogger, vagabond, just like me. Vagabond. I have been to 63 countries, and I'm just going to assume, I just know that I've been to more places than Annalie. And I'm not even a professional vlogger. I just work online teaching ESL. So I don't even have to make it as my own living. So that, again, superiority complex. That makes me better. I've been to 63 countries. That makes me 2.8 times better than Corey. And the fact that I didn't need to do a professional travel vlogging career also means I am better than Annalie. And apparently Michelle knows who Annalie is, or they're friends or something. I briefly watched Croquetta chat. I didn't view the whole explanation, but Michelle referenced it in her intro, and then I skipped ahead to the end of Croquetta chat, where she talked about it again briefly. But I just kind of tuned out. I wasn't really that interested in it, to be honest with you. Yeah. So Steve and Annalie seem to balance each other out really well. Not well enough for me to rank them any higher than 8th, but to quote Croquetta chat, they could be our sleeper team of this season. I wouldn't be surprised. I've referred to Robin Corey as our Charlie Day wild cards. And now I have referenced Steve and Annalie as a potential sleeper pick. We're going to find out pretty quickly if they'll be strong. Of course, there'll be inevitable comparisons to Steve and Allie from season 16, who, unlike Mark from Mark and Poppa, they were willing to abandon their backpacks to preserve their position in the race and to also preserve a lifetime supply of 7-Up, apparently. Yes, that was a big prize, the 7-Up prize in season 16. I hear 7-Up is much better than Snapple. Let's see. Did I have anything else to really add? Father-daughter teams tend to be the strongest of any parent-child combination. They're usually better than mother-son, mother-daughter, father and son, unless you're Dave and Connor as the rare exception for some reason. But here, Steve and Annalie, they do have a fighting chance here. Clearly, Annalie has a lot of travel experience, and I think Steve's more practical skills, such as being a painter. He probably has a lot of skills that Annalie doesn't have, and you really need that on the race. And the way to really utilize that is when you go into a roadblock, you can identify who needs to do that task. You really need to identify whose strengths will that fall under. So as long as they can recognize who needs to be where, I can see them doing really well. And let's see, did I have anything else serious to say? Yeah, I'm just waiting for more people to compare them to Steve and Allie, but I guess Steve and Allie were so under-edited that no one has really gone that far into the cast assessment. Granted, season 16 has really fallen into obscurity in the TAR timeline. Really, now it's just, oh, that's the season with Jet and Cord. Jet and Cord were in season 16. They should have won that season. So that's really all that's referenced. Steve and Allie have really fallen by the wayside, unfortunately. Editors did them a little bit dirty during that season. And much like how I'm going to do them dirty here, because we are under 7 minutes, and I have nothing else to say about Steve and Annalie. Apparently, I had some other joke in there that they're not going to be as entertaining or as awesome as Ron and Christina were, and that's really the only other note I had. Yeah, I don't think Steve's going to quit like Hussein did, though, if he makes it to the finale. Hussein stood a disaster in Amazing Race Asia 4. He was just the worst all season long. He was always complaining and whining and moaning about different things. I don't think Mr. Steve Cargyle from Petty, Texas is going to be in the same category. And I think he'll be more physically fit than Ron was from seasons 12 and 18. Ron had, 12 herniated discs and kidney failure and liver abuse and partially blind and missing his appendix or something like that. Nah, I'm just kidding. That didn't really happen. It'd be interesting to see if Steve is as powerful as Gary was in the Gary and Mallory duo, because Gary was serious about staying in shape and really being with it. Not only did he have all the handy skills, but he freaking climbed Mount Everest. Gary was one of those crazy mountain climbers, ice climbers, minus the fun jumping around and getting into fights with Mario and Luigi in Super Smash Brothers. So yeah, we're going to find out very quickly, again, because on the East Coast this airs in just over an hour, to see how well Steve and Annalie will do. And this is the main weakness. If they when they get to Thailand for this first leg, especially Bangkok, because Bangkok is full of digital nomads and travel vloggers. Oh, that was my back again. Steve's really going to have to pull Annalie away from the co-working cafes and to try Pier 21 restaurant, because I spent a lot of time in Bangkok, and Gian even spotted a travel vlogger while we were there when we were hanging out in the McDonald's. During our time in Bangkok before we lived in Phuket for 5 months. And Annalie's going to be thinking, oh, we're at the pit stop. Let's go out to Chatuchak Market. And Steve is going to have to rope her in and say, nope, we can't do that, Annalie. We only get 6 hours of sleep before we start the next leg. Or maybe she'll want to take a day trip out to Ayutthaya and bring out her selfie stick and fly her drone around there. Steve's going to have to talk her out of doing that. So Steve's really going to have to keep Annalie away from trying to get all of those drone shots and stuff for her travel vlogging. That might be their biggest obstacle and their biggest vulnerability during the season. So we shall keep an eye on that for our storyline. And that is it. I expanded it much longer than I thought I was going to. Let's jump to our next team.